Hi, I'm Rashonda Cade. This is Reading with Rashonda. We are reading Behind the Scenes by Elizabeth Keckley. We are on, I believe, our third installment of chapter 14. It will be our final installment. There aren't that many pages left. And assuming I can keep my life under control, we will get through them toot sweet. So we're at the section now where Mrs. Keckley is giving us letters. I'll go back to the paragraph before where she writes, I cannot do better than conclude this chapter with two letters from my dear young friends, the first from Mrs. General Meme and the second from Miss Maggie Garland. These letters show the goodness of their hearts and the frankness of their natures. I trust that they will not object to the publicity that I give them. Roods Hill, September 14th, 1807. I imagine that's Mrs. Garland. This letter is long. Let's go to the end. Nope, that was Meme from Roods Hill. Okay. Roods Hill, September 14th, 1867. My dear Lizzie, I am nearly ashamed of myself for neglecting to acknowledge the receipt of your letter and the very acceptable box of patterns some week ago. But you will pardon my remisses, I know, for you can imagine what a busy time I've had all summer, with a house full of company most of the time and with very inefficient servants, and in some departments, none at all. And it is emphasized, none at all. So I have had to be at times dining room servant, housemaid, and the last and most difficult, dairymaid. But I have turned that department over to our gardener, who, though as green at the business as myself, seems willing to learn and has been doing the milking all summer. These are a few of the reasons why I have not written to you before, for I hope you will always believe that you occupy a large place in my memory and affection, whether I write to you or not. And such a poor correspondent as yourself ought not to complain. Well, she was like, I've been terribly busy. I don't have any slaves anymore. And now I don't have any house servants. So I've been having to do all the things myself. And don't talk about me not writing to you because you don't write very well. You don't write me very often either. Now, is this how we're starting this letter? To each their own. We will continue. Mother, Mag, Uncle John, and Spot are still with us. The former will pass the winter with me, but the others all talk of leaving before long. The approach of winter always scatters our guests, and we have had to spend the long, dreary winters alone. But we are to have the railroad to Mount Jackson by Christmas, perhaps sooner, and then, if we can race the wind, we can spend a portion of the winter in the city, and I hope you will find time to come up and spend the day with me, as we will be near neighbors. I so seldom indulge in the pleasant task of writing letters that I scarcely know what will interest my correspondent. But I flatter myself that you will be glad to hear anything and everything about us, so I'll begin with the children. Hugh has improved a great deal and is acknowledged to be the smartest child and the finest looking in the state. He's the smartest and finest looking child in the state. I mean, maybe. I too think my children are the smartest and finest looking children in the state. Can't tell me otherwise. He talks as plainly as I do and just as understandingly as a child of 10 years old. His nurse often says we need not set our hearts on that child. He is too smart ever to be raised. But I trust his badness will save him, for he is terribly spoiled, as such interesting children are bound to be. Miss Eliza, no longer called Jane, is getting to be a little star girl, as her papa calls her. She is just learning to walk and says a good many words quite plainly. You would never take her for the same little crybaby of last summer, and she is a little beauty too, as white as the driven snow with the most beautiful blue eyes and long dark lashes you ever saw. She will set somebody crazy if she grows up to be as lovely as she now promises to be. My dear good husband has been, like myself, run to death this summer, but it agrees with him, and I never saw him looking better. Hard work agrees with him. It doesn't appear to agree with you, per you. He's fallen off a little, which is a great improvement, I think. He often speaks of you and wonders if you were sufficiently pleased with your visit last summer to repeat it. I hope so, for we will always be glad to welcome you to Rude's Hill whenever you have time to come, provided, of course, you have the wish also. Spot expects to hang out his shingle in St. Louis next winter. His health is greatly improved, though he is still very thin and very, very much like his dear father. Mag has promised to teach a little cousin of ours who lives in Nelson County until February and will leave here in 2 weeks to commence her labors. I hate to see her leave, but she is bent on it, and our winters are so unattractive that I do not like to insist on her shutting herself up all winter with 3 old people. She will have very pleasant society at Cousin Butler's, and will perhaps spend the rest of the winter with Aunt Pris if Uncle Armistead remains in Binghamton, New York. Binghamton. My husband has visited Binghamton. I've never been there, but he has. And look, it's in the book. I love stuff like that. All right, let me keep reading. Let me read that sentence again. She will have very pleasant society at Cousin Buller's. Cousin Buller's, that is what it says. At Cousin Buller's, and will perhaps spend the rest of the winter with Aunt Pris if Uncle Armistead remains in Binghamton, New York, as he talks of doing. Do write to me before you get too busy with your fall and winter work. I am so anxious to hear all your plans and about your stay in New York. By the by, I will have to direct this to Washington, as I do not know your New York address. I suppose your friends will forward it. If you are going to remain any length of time in New York, send me your address, and I will write again. I have somehow made out a long letter, though there is not much in it, and I hope you will do the same before long. All send love. Yours affectionately, N.R.G. Neame. And then it doesn't say like P.S. or anything, but the letter does start back up. My pen and ink are both so wretched that I fear you will find some difficulty in making out this scratch. But put on your specs, and what you can't read, just guess at it. That totally sounds like something one of my friends would say. Put on your glasses, and if you can't read it, just guess. You'll be fine. All right. But put on your specs, and what you can't read, just guess at it. I enclose a very poor likeness of Hugh taken last spring. Don't show it to anybody, for I assure you there is scarcely the faintest resemblance to him now in it. N-R-G-M. All right, and so the next voice we hear right now is Mrs. Keckley's. I give only a few extracts from the pleasant letter from Miss Maggie Garland. The reader will observe that she signs herself, your child Mag, an expression of love warmly appreciated by me. So this next letter is from Maggie Garland, and then we'll be done with this chapter. What? Seddes, it's Seddes, and I'm assuming that's the location where she is, because that's how these letters start. Seddes, December 17th, 1867. What was the date on the other letter? September 14th, 1867. So this is a few months later that Maggie Garland is writing to her from Seddes, December 17th, 1867. All right, I don't know why I took that like big, long, drawn out, deep breath. I don't know what's happening with me. So many months have passed, my dear Lizzie, since I was cheered by a sight of your welcome handwriting. Wow, she starts off a letter too, like, it's been a long time since you've written to me. All right. So many months have passed, my dear Lizzie, since I was cheered by a sight of your welcome handwriting, that I must find out what is the matter, and see if I can't persuade you to write me a few lines. Whatever comes, weal or woe, you know I shall always love you, and I have no idea of letting you forget me. So just make up your mind to write me a nice long letter and tell me what you are doing with yourself this cold winter. I am buried in the wilds of Amherst, and the cold, chilling blasts of December come whistling around and tell us plainly that the reign of the Snow King has begun in good earnest. Since October, I have been teaching for my cousin, Mr. Claiborne, and although I am very happy and everyone is so kind to me, I shall not be sorry when the day comes when I shall shut up the school books forever. None of Miss Ann's children were cut out for school marms, were they, Yiddy? She's like, yeah, I'm teaching because it's what I can do, because it's 1867 and that's where I'm allowed to be. But like, I don't love it. I wasn't born for this work. All right. I am sure I was only made to ride in my carriage and play on the piano. Don't you think so? You must write me where you are so I can stop and see you on my way north, for you know, dear Lizzie, no one can take your place in my heart. I expect to spend the Christmas holidays in Lynchburg. It will be very gay there, and I will be glad enough to take a good dance. This is a short letter to send you after such a long silence, but 'tis too cold to write. And that could literally be a thing. Like your hands are probably getting really cold. It's winter time, and I think she said she's in Amherst. Is that New York? Let's Google it. Normally I pause you while I'm Googling, but I'm Googling where is Amherst. Where is Amherst? Amherst. Massachusetts. Amherst is in Massachusetts. I bet it is cold in December in Massachusetts. And like they didn't have central heat. They had fires. It's probably literally too cold to write. Her fingers are probably hurting. All right, this is a short letter to send you after such a long silence, but 'tis too cold to write. Let me hear from you very soon. Your child, Mag. Please write, for I long to hear from you. And thus ends chapter 14. Get my bookmark in. Did I tell y'all that I made this? I made it a while ago, but it's a bookmark I like to use. I crocheted it. Anywho, thus ends chapter 14 of Behind the Scenes by Elizabeth Keckley. I'm Rashonda Cade, and this is Reading with Rashonda. Until next time.